you tossed that out in the Discord recently, and I was like, holy shit, somebody's making an immersive sim with PlayMaker. This is totally my jam.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, no, you've already done it, right? Like how far you take it now is what the question is.
From the YouTube videos that I've seen of people playing my game, they're not really like getting the mechanics, and that's entirely my fault, as I think I've told this on a commentary, on the comments. And like, I didn't really have time to design a tutorial or explain the players how the game plays. But even still, even without like half of the mechanics not being used by the players, like they're really enjoying the game.
Seriously, and have they said why? What do you think that is?
The atmosphere, like, and the feel of the game, the gameplay.
I think so too.
Like walking around in this world, moving the player.
You made a game that, in that genre of immersive sims, for whatever few things that are in it, made it actually immersive, right? Like the word is there. It is immersive. The atmosphere is there. I feel like genuinely, however limited the playtime or scope or whatever it is, like a jam game that really made me feel like pretty involved in that world. You know, like it does.
Amazing to hear, man.
You've entered jams before. Is this your first jam? Is it like how many?
This is my first. Yeah.
Okay, right on.
First jam ever. I gotta say, it's not my first game.
Yeah, I see. I'm looking at your itch page here, and I see Building 847. Is that another immersive sim, or what's that like?
No, that was just that one was my first game ever.
Okay.
I made it last year, as I was like learning and understanding Unity and PlayMaker. I just wanted to do a short game. The game's like 20 minutes to 40 minutes, depending how much you explore. That was just like a laser focused project because I didn't want to start without finishing a game, because I knew that was like the number 2 or number 1 reason why people like don't finish or don't release games is because they don't finish it.
Right.
So I wanted to finish it, and I did it in 3 months. Contrary to Corpus Edax, nobody played it on it.
Sure.
Because I sold it, but I changed it to pay what you want because of Corpus Edax.
And have you seen more of a response since then, like for Building 847?
I've seen like some more dozens of downloads. No one has commented yet. Yeah, I think that's expected, just because I also put a notice on the top of the page that game is well optimized. And yeah, I just wanted to let people know.
So can you tell me about actually getting into game development? Like how far back does this go for you?
It goes back, I'd say like 2012. I think I downloaded Unity in 2012, and I tried making something, didn't work out, didn't understand anything. I quit. Then fast forward to 2015, I downloaded GameMaker Studio. I tried making a game, didn't know what was going on with the programming language, GameMaker language. I quit making that stuff. And
how long did that one last when you were messing around with that?
Oh, I think that lasted like half a year.
Okay.
Like 6 months around.
Sure. So you ditched that. Then what's next round?
Like 5 years later, I'm back and I'm fucking laser focused, not giving up, and I didn't. Nice.
And when you did get back into things, what is the start of that? How involved was I'm curious to know, like, did you go straight back to Unity? And if you did you go straight to PlayMaker? Like what were the first stepping stones in there? I
had bought PlayMaker in a humble bundle in like 2018 because I was like future proofing my willness to learn.
Right. I hear that.
Yeah. So like I went to Unity and I saw my purchases from Humble Bundle and I saw PlayMaker and I was like, dude, this is it, because I do not get code. Like if you give me a piece of code, a script, like I can understand, read it now. Right. Now like I'm fine.
Sure.
But back I did not understand any of it. So PlayMaker was like the one thing that allowed me to learn and keep going.
So when you say now you can read scripts, like what? Yeah. You're still using PlayMaker, but in the middle of all this, you decided to also learn C#?
I'm trying to learn C#, especially now. Like I've been using Unity and PlayMaker for a year now. As I've been using PlayMaker, I've been understanding C# better and better, because PlayMaker is just like chunks of C# scripts. So like it makes perfect sense. And yeah, PlayMaker like really helps me learn C#, and now I can read. I can't write. Sharp. I don't understand the formats.
Sure.
But I can read and understand what C Sharp scripts are and what they have.
You say you can't write C Sharp scripts, but have you taken shots at like writing custom actions?
Yeah, I've done one like 50 custom action.
What was it? What was the action?
It was just like, I think we talked about it the other day, the screen typewriter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, whatever that action is.
Name. I made a custom action that just put a weight at the end of the string. That action didn't have a delay set, and I just put it so that when it completes the string, there's a delay that kicks in, so that the user can read the sentence that you're typing out on the screen.
Gotcha.
And that was it. I also made a custom action for an asset that didn't have a specific PlayMaker action that I wanted, so I made it.
What was the asset?
It was Destroy It. I don't know if you know it.
Destroy. Oh, is that the thing to break meshes into certain parts with like cutting and stuff like that?
Yeah. It uses prefabs. You pre-cut it in Blender or whatever.
What was the action that you had to make for that?
Because like Destroy It only has like 3 PlayMaker actions. They're like repair, damage, and something else like send events. And I wanted an action that told me when an object with this component was destroyed. I searched the scripts. There was a script for that. And I basically transferred that to PlayMaker. You
decided to commit, and now you're just like, you're even getting into the nitty gritty of like, you're going to be writing code now too.
Yeah. It's really limiting not knowing code. So I gotta learn it.
Is it? In what ways? I'm curious. I haven't hit that ceiling yet myself, and I feel like I'm doing pretty wackadoo crazy shit sometimes.
For me, like learning code is not so much as writing. It's exactly just learning and understanding the code. So for PlayMaker, like I really need to understand assets that don't have PlayMaker actions.
Sure.
Because otherwise, if they don't have it, like I'm limiting my abilities,
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
So like it's good for me to learn anyway.
Are there any other assets besides the break it thing that you're trying to like learn or make your own custom actions for?
For Corpus Edax, I use like a couple of assets, but none that really need PlayMaker actions. Just the get and set property actions are like enough for that. I'm
wondering what your background outside of games is. Like, what the hell do you do? What is the shirt that you're wearing? What's the shirt? This T-shirt, is that a band shirt?
It's a band shirt.
Yeah. Nuclear Assault.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who that is. What kind of music is that?
It's a thrash metal band.
Okay, right on.
I've been listening to them like forever since I was a teen. I was really into movies. I was really into writing.
Did you make movies?
A couple of short films. Yeah.
Okay.
I just directed them, edited them, and I went to school. Had a post-production course for editing videos and shit.
Yeah.
And then after that, I worked for like 3 months at the production studio, like editing commercials and stuff. And like when I was working there, I realized I really didn't like it.
Sure.
Like, the whole thing I was studying my whole life. So I quit that and I searched for a regular 9-to-5 job. So now I'm like working at a back office at a major company here in Portugal and world actually. That allows me to have a strict schedule. I have a regular pay, which I want, and that allows me to make games, which is the only thing I wanted.
Fucking nice.
So yeah.
Because I come from film too, and like, what I'm sort of extrapolating from this is that, you took this other job because it's steady, right? Whereas film, maybe it just comes and goes. It's called a lot of it's contract work.
2 long hours, dude.
That too. Also, the fucking industries can be unfair. I guess even in Portugal, because in Los Angeles, it's also terrible.
It's the same, dude. It's all the same.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Everywhere.
Right.
And I just wanted like free time to make games. That's all I wanted.
If you weren't doing film as a job, then like as a creative medium, your interest still lays there. If somebody gave you a bunch of money to make your own movies.
Oh, dude, I would love it.
Yeah, right.
Because I like editing stories,
Sure.
I don't like editing
that fucking
commercials.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Selling somebody's product and like chopping up something you don't give a shit about.
Exactly. Like you're working for them, you're like a tool.
Right.
I didn't really like the feeling, so I quit. I actually really enjoy writing too. Like I wrote a full-length script.
So you do like music, you draw and stuff? Because obviously you've made some of the assets, and I'm kind of wondering, you seem like maybe that those are other things you've dabbled in.
Nah, like I'm the worst artist. I don't know how to draw. I was just learning how to model since last year. I really suck at modeling, and that's one of the things I want to get better.
Right.
Like learn Blender and stuff.
Right. Is that what you're using primarily then? Is Blender?
Yeah, Blender and the Unity asset.
Modeler.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Try to keep it focused on a couple of apps, like Blender and something else. That's it. I don't want to mess around with Maya. I don't want to mess around with other stuff.
Besides making stuff, what about playing stuff? What games did you grow up on as a kid?
The first game I played was like a Doom clone.
A Doom clone was the first game you played? That's the first game you can remember? Hold on, wait a second. How old are you? I haven't even...
26.
Okay, right on. You have a very ambiguous look to you, plus the webcam does things to our face. So I can't tell. 26. All right, so how old were you then, do you think, if you were playing a Doom clone? Because that's a strange first game to play.
I had an old Mac.
Okay.
And it was one of the few games that they ported over to Mac. I think it was like 2001, 2000, around that time. I grew up with the PS2 anyways, and I also grew up with the only games that were ported to Mac because I never had a Windows. Me and my brother growing up, we never had a Windows PC, only had Macintosh.
Sure.
So we played a lot of Fallout 2.
Those were on Mac?
Yeah, they were ported to Mac.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh, I didn't realize that. What are you on right now, by the way?
I'm using Windows because I was using an iMac last year, and I really wanted like a gaming PC.
Absolutely.
/ dev PC.
Sure.
So I sold the iMac and saved some money and bought this.
You did the right thing.
Yeah, it's really paying off, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, so you were playing Fallout on a Mac, which is strange to me. I'm gonna have to put video on that.
We had like a full a disc sleeve full of Mac games, of Mac ports.
Like what else?
Max Payne.
Oh, really? Okay, I can see that. So they are like the hits. Like they were porting out like the really big, they already found success titles.
Yeah, stuff like that, yeah. There was another game called Another War, I think. Yeah, I also played that.
And you said you were playing PS2 a lot as a kid? Yeah.
Like a lot of PS2, a lot of Jack and Daxter, Metal Gear Solid.
Right. Okay. So this is good to touch on too. Then because I eventually want to get around to talking about immersive sims, which is only a recent thing that I've begun to realize as a whole.
You're also doing an immersive sim.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I didn't know until not even kidding. 3 weeks ago, I started seeing that word around more. I think it's because No Clip. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. They're pumping out docs about Prey,
seriously, and Arcane and all their shit. Yeah. And they just put out one about Thief and Looking Glass, and I think it kind of put it on my radar. That's kind of what I'm doing. It's a little bit like that. And then people in the chat used to say, "Hey, have you played Deus Ex? It kind of reminds me of your game." And exactly. It's just all that kind of shit. And then literally, it's been less than a month where I've been holy shit, I think now I know what to say when people ask me what kind of game am I making? Oh, it's an immersive sim. So, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because you said that you played some Metal Gear, and it's not quite an immersive sim, but it touches on a lot of the qualities. I think especially if you played MGS3. MGS3 was probably the closest it got to in the older titles.
Yeah, that's very true. I played all of them. Because I really liked it, but my first one, I think it was MGS2, and then I played MGS3, and then I played MGS1, and then 4.
Right. Yeah. That sounds about that's close to what I did. What's your favorite? Which one's your favorite?
I had probably 3 or 4.
Yeah. I'm a big 3 guy. I'm a big MGS3. MGS4 is all right. It's I kind of got into it, but MGS3 is just so my jam. It's the period piece one too, so I'm kind of thinking oh god, I'm so predictable. Fucking, of course, that's the kind of shit. The one that takes place in the 60s. Yeah. And it's man, a lot of these things are coming clear to me. I have to admit, as somebody who's really deep, who's devoted his life to film. It's mostly what I've been doing my whole life. I've only decided to go this far into games in the last couple of years that I'm having revelations constantly about myself, artistic revelations, oh, I love that kind of game actually, or oh, these kind of things influence me. It's been a very slow burn. Yeah. Have you had that too? Because if you're kind of coming to it too, what's something like that's popped up for you recently? If you can think of one.
I think the Deus Ex stuff, at the time when Deus Ex Human Revolution came out, in 2012, I did not know what immersive sims were. Sure. Is that a thing? Sure. To me, Deus Ex was just an action stealth RPG, whatever. I started learning like the things you do in that game, the systems, like picking up objects, hacking doors, playing around with systems, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, is there a genre? And there is, and like that really stood out to me.
There's a ton of docs, YouTube channels, and like mini docs, or I shouldn't say docs because I guess NoClip's the only one doing docs, but like there's a lot of YouTube channels doing video essays about immersive sims lately too.
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
it's like it's a fucking thing that's catching on. Like, you know, I hope I can get to the point where I can finish your game, and I mean my game, and I hope you can get yours to a point where you're pushing it as like a bigger, if whatever your aspirations are for that, I'm not quite sure, but it would be cool to, you know, I think we could potentially be in the middle of like a sort of mini renaissance, or sort of like a coming of a new school of like a reawakening of the genre or something.
And it's mostly indies.
Exactly.
I don't see any AAA like doing immersive sims unless it's Arcane, of course.
Right, because it's a studio killer.
Yeah.
Fucks everybody over. What about as an adult? What are been some of like the jams that like...
One game that's really stood out to me was Outer Wilds. Fucking amazing game. I don't know if you played it.
I haven't. I really want to though. I do.
It's amazing. Like that game, and What Remains of Edith Finch. Those games, like, they opened like the cosmic video game mind for me, you know, because those games really told me how video games could be played, what they could do, especially What Remains of Edith Finch. That game's just fucking amazing because they play around with the notion that you are playing a video game and you are playing like a deeply emotional story. They mess around with video game mechanics. Like, one moment you're walking down the beach like a walking simulator, and the other moment you're inside a slasher movie, and the other moment you're a baby inside a bathtub.
Sure.
Like, they play around with single time mechanics, and I really like that because like no one else really did that. It's a story that can only be told via a video game, you know.
Right.
And I really like that.
That makes sense. I dig that.
You have to play it.
I will. Now that I like, because you say that, there's two things on my mind when you say that. Is that like, one, I want to try it out, and two, after I try it out, it's a follow-up piece that I want to get back to that I only played the first 20 minutes of is Titanfall 2. Have you played it?
I played it, but I didn't really enjoy it.
Okay,
like, I know some people say it's cool and the story, etc., but it's not for me. I don't know.
I kind of have the same experience so far, but there's been from what I hear about it, it sounds like I didn't quite get to a certain part where things flip.
Exactly, because
and it sounds like the Edith Finch thing, because I've heard that there's a bunch of single-use mechanics, like whole sequences where you use a totally different gameplay style, but only for like a limited time, and that kind of has piqued my curiosity.
And that's the whole game. Like, you can't tell the story like in the movie,
right?
Because you're feeling the characters, you are playing those characters, and if you're not doing what they're doing, like, you're a passive observer, and like it kind of loses all meaning if it was a movie.
And in some ways, what I've been learning is that it's harder to make emotional connections when you have an active participant, like in games. It's really felt like quite the challenge to kind of get. It's harder
because like it's human nature, right? You just do what you want.
Right.
You have choices.
And you can end up wanting to like not want to fuck the game up, but there's a part of like how far you could take the illusion with like breaking the game.
Yeah.
You're jumping up and down while somebody's saying really serious dialogue to you, you know, like we're doing the crouch, like, you know, it's just, there's ways to sort of like break the illusion. You have to be more willing, right? You have to kind of play the part in that way.
Yeah. You either go full on with the players and allow them to do like all that stupid stuff, or you lock the player and like remove control.
Right.
During the movie.
And that bugs the shit out of me. I can't stand when they take the controls away from me and like I'm sitting there watching. Like, as a big fan of MGS, like, what did you think of the MGS cutscenes? Like, are you a fan of the MGS?
Like, I love the MGS cutscenes just because like you can like relax, grab popcorn, and watch a 5-minute movie.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Right. They're more well done than others.
They're super well done. Like the cinematography, the choreography of some fights, like they're super cool.
Totally, those fucking fight scenes. I'm thinking of Raiden versus the cow, the walker thing.
Yeah.
I mean, do you get pretty annoyed by when they take the controls away from you for most other games?
I think I've been growing to hate it more and more.
Same.
Just because I think it's mostly because of having a job, like, and having a little time. Like, I want to play the game, not do anything else.
Right.
You know.
Sure.
I think it's mostly because of that. I've been growing more and more annoyed of taking control away.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you on that front, but I also think there's probably something where it's like my brain at that moment is psychologically primed to go like, I want to move my fingers. I want to interact, you know, like I didn't fucking boot this thing up to watch it, you know, like I'm holding this controller. Let me do something. Yeah.
Dude, like even the other day I was having a conversation with my brother because he helps me make the games.
Oh, right on.
He's a sound designer and Foley artist and stuff.
That's awesome.
And I was talking to him and I was like, dude, I should have made like a tutorial or something on Corpus Edax because people don't get the game. Should I probably made a tutorial where you pause the game and a big block of text shows up like, you can do this? And he was like, no, don't do that. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I shouldn't stop the game, like take away control from the player and see, you can do this.
Right.
It needs to be more natural. So those things really annoy me on games when they pause the action.
I just started playing Deus Ex for the first time recently.
The first one.
Yeah. The OG one. And
it's on my list.
There's the main menu where there's a straight up how to play mode. You know, and you play through that whole, it's almost like a mini campaign of teaching you how to play. And it was like testing my patience, you know, the pace of it. I really wanted to get on with things. I wanted to learn faster, you know.
Yeah.
You know, in Portal, replaying Portal 1 and 2, they tutorialize you for the first like half hour of the game because it's such a foreign mechanic. But what happens when you want to revisit the game? Or what happens, you know, if you're coming off of Portal 1, you already know how it works. So in Portal 2, it's like, let's really get to it. You know, like you could skip all this shit. But they do it again. They wrap it in story.
As well.
Yeah. Like what are some of the games that you've dug the tutorialization for? Any like examples that you go like, oh, that's how you do it that come to mind?
I liked Splinter Cell because it's just the first Splinter Cell is just a training course, like it's a 10-minute training course, and that's kind of cool. But I really don't remember. I know there are like better ways to do tutorials than pausing time, but I actually don't remember any example of a game that does that. Like that does the opposite.
Do you know Aaron Hansen, Ego Raptor? He's from Game Grumps. At one point, he was making some video game essays, and one of them was about Mega Man and the tutorialization, how Mega Man teaches you how to play without explicitly pausing the game or saying, hey, this is how you do things. At least the first one, I think, is the one that does that. And then every other Mega Man after that, he says he hates because they have little text at the bottom of the screen where somebody goes, Mega Man, if you press this button, then da-da-da-da-da. And it's like fucking annoying. Whereas the first one did it very subtly and just kind of like made it a part of the game itself, and you kind of unconsciously learn.
I'm also like trying to design a tutorial section that's kind of like a prologue.
Right, like a prologue.
Yeah.
How's that going? Are you working on it right now, or is it in the ideation phase, or what?
Yeah, it's only ideation phase because right now I'm only focusing on the core systems for Corpus Edax, like optimizing the code because it's like spaghetti code in PlayMaker.
Sure.
Because I was running out of time.
I am curious too. Would you be able to send me screenshots or like videos of you kind of poking around the FSM? I'd love to put some of that on screen to show folks what your shit looks like.
I have to warn, like, I'm a noob.
Yeah.
Probably like a million ways to do it better. So yeah.
Even better.
People can learn from my mistakes.
Totally. Okay, here's something too. Is like, what about games that make you cry? Have you had a game make you cry? Have you?
Yeah. MGS3 was the one.
What? I'm very surprised. Which part?
Because, okay.
Spoiler alert.
Put it in context.
Yeah, and by the way, everybody, this is probably going to be a spoiler.
If you haven't played MGS3, go play it now, and then keep playing this video.
I second that advice.
But anyway, like, I think I was 13 or 14, I think. And I was really invested in MGS3 characters, specifically Big Boss and the Boss. And when I have to pull the trigger, like at the end, I don't know if you remember, but you have to kill the boss, like Tormentor. That really like stood out to me. I was shocked for 2 days.
Yeah, that's heavy.
It's completely,
It's very heavy, and you're out there in the flower field. The particle effects of the flowers are all falling, and it's and it's quiet. It waits in silence. It's heavy.
And then like the whole ending sequence where you hate receiving that medal, and like that really stood out to me.
Okay, so you had that loaded up. That is a pretty tough one. Have you cried in any other games?
Like not really cried, just teary-eyed on To the Moon. I don't know if you would know that game.
You know, my friend was really egging me on to play that for a long time, and I did get it. I have it, and I played a little bit of it, but I just, because it's one of those ones that's like Game Maker, right? Like it's I never quite got there, but he told me that he bawled his eyes out. So that one hit you pretty hard too?
Not as much as MGS3, just because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why.
Whatever
honestly.
it is,
it's a sadder story, but MGS3 just really made me. I've been like growing more out of those types of games, like the types of games that are designed to make you cry. I'm growing more and more out of them because To the Moon is that.
It's very melodramatic.
Yeah.
Very manipulative.
Exactly.
Did you see, I don't know, just so I don't have to run through this again, but like, did you see the interview I did with Alex?
I did, yeah.
So you heard me go on that whole spiel about Deep Rock Galactic, the game where you're in dwarves?
I remember you guys talking about Deep Rock Galactic, but I don't know, like...
There's this feeling that I get playing some games that are like action games, and that's like my go-to example because that's where I felt it the strongest. And like when that shield, I thought I was going to die. I didn't know he was coming back. So in my screen, all I see was a shield go past my eyes. And I'm like, I'm being saved. And like, even right now, thinking back to this, like my heart kind of flutters and like I get a little choked up and my eyes kind of twitch, you know? And
dude, that's so awesome.
It's a feeling that is kind of rare, but it's crazy to me because it's from action, you know? That's like the last game I would expect someone to choke up. Right? Yeah. Same here. It's highly recommended. But yeah, do you ever get emotional during kind of like big sort of like, you know, kind of like the drama of the moment more than the plot or the character? Does that ever happen?
Outer Wilds, dude. Yeah, that game like also made me choke up a bit.
Yeah. What part? What happens? Or is it spoilerly? Do we give them a spoiler?
It's spoilers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the whole game, you're reliving an experience, like a 22-minute loop, where the galaxy dies, and at the end, everyone that you meet along the way like comes together and sings a song, and the universe dies, and you everyone along with it.
Gotcha.
And that really made me like choke up a bit.
That's pretty intense. That's really fucking intense. This is getting moved to the top of my list. I'm actually like, I'm in Paris right now, so like I'm just with my laptop. So I haven't really been getting a bunch of games, but I think when I'm going to go back home within the next week or so, and when I'm back with my rig, I think I'm going to install that shit. What do you have in store for Corpus Edax? Like, do you have like a roadmap? Like, what are you doing with this thing?
Yeah, that's really, I don't know. I still don't know because I made that little section, and I'm not sure what to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to make it all on a space station, or if it's like cities built on a planet. I still don't know what I want to do with it. But I do know that I want to focus on the mechanics right now, because if I have the mechanics and all that stuff, then I just got to build content.
Right.
And it'll be easy for me. So right now I'm just planning out stuff in my head and designing a little bit.
You want to really polish the mechanics so you can then just use them like Legos to kind of create, even if it was just a limited amount of content, and then from there kind of see how people respond.
Yeah, because if I have the mechanics, then I can play out the levels. I can see how they're going to do, like players are going to go through the level.
Right.
And since it's an RPG as well, like people can go through it in a myriad of ways.
Right.
They can talk to someone, they can hack a door, they can destroy the door, they can find another way. Like, I have to plan the mechanics first and then plan out the world. For
your foreseeable future, Corpus Edax is kind of like, that's going to be taking all your, like, that you're all in on this right now.
Yeah. Only because people left really nice comments.
Sure. No, that's a brilliant reason to stick around. Like, something you put a lot of effort into that came out awesome. People tell you it's great. Like, yeah, that's great. Stick with it. So I have to ask this then, is like, you know, for the record, because we have this, like, we're recording this and now this is going to be like, you know, hard copy. You can come back to this and either be like, fuck yeah, or laugh at yourself a little bit. I'm curious to think like what is your projected sort of like timeline on this? You know, what's your projected timeline, and what do you like hope your projected timeline is when you're saying like by this time I want to be done with it and on to something else in my life?
I do want to not spend a lot of time on this game. Sure. And I think I will like be done with it in around a year and a half. Now, a year and a half, I don't know if that's like a lot or not. Honestly, for two people, me and my brother, maybe. Sure. Maybe it's not much, but PlayMaker like really helps me make stuff fast. So I think that's like a good timeline, honestly. Sure.
No, that's like, you know, the thing is like usually people say like, you know, a few months, 6 months project, and then it ends up taking like 2 years or something. So it's like it's nice to know that you are not thinking in those terms, that you're very much like, if I am going to devote it a year, that's a good timeline. I think that sounds like a reasonable amount of time to devote yourself to something like this.
We'll see. I'll go back to this video and then laugh at myself.
Right. And we'll see if for what reason, if it's like because it was shorter and you did more, or if it was longer and you did less, or, you know, it could be, there's so many, these things are so unpredictable, especially with the genre, right?
Super, like, and I'm still learning, so it's like, it's even more unpredictable for me.
Do you plan on doing any like major system overhauls?
I do plan on making like a lot of changes to the systems I already made on the little proof of concept, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
But nothing set in stone. I'm just experimenting right now. I still like. I gotta ask you something. Like, do you know? Do you play Skyrim, Oblivion, etc.? Right?
You know, to be honest, nah, man. No? I haven't. I've played like maybe less than 5 minutes of Skyrim in my entire life.
Do you know those lockpick minigames?
Yeah.
That they put. Yeah, like. Would you like to have a lockpick minigame or a real-time lockpick like the first Deus Ex? Lockpick's just like you press a button and the bar fills up and that's it.
Right. Like it's just off a stat thing, right? Like your stats are like you're this good at it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say I've played any games that have a lockpick mechanic that I've stuck with long. Oh no, I take that back. You know what? What kind of counts? This is similar. Is I've been replaying BioShock. And the hacking mechanic, right? The little tube game.
Yeah.
So that I have a blast with. People complain about that shit all the time. I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Me too. Yeah.
And the way it punishes you and the way you other thing, like, you know, it's not just a stat that makes it easier in some abstract way. Like it says, oh, it'll remove those explosive parts, or it'll give you a slower fill time or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy that one. As far as like lock picking goes, stuff like that. Are you into VR? Do you have a VR headset?
No, I don't.
Have you played VR?
I haven't.
Fucking A, man. Go on eBay or whatever and get yourself an HTC Vive, one of the OG ones. You could buy one now for like $250 and play Half-Life Alyx.
Oh yeah, dude, Half-Life, yeah.
Because that has a great lockpick thing in it.
Does it? Dude, I gotta search that.
It's in VR, and it's like it's a really interesting puzzle mechanic for like what is essentially lockpicking. Do you like lockpicking stuff?
Lockpick minigames?
Yeah.
Yeah, like personally, I love it, but since I'm making a game, I don't know if like most of the players would like it. Right. I want to put the minigame, but I'm still like assessing the market. Sure.
Okay,
if people would like it.
That's kind of an interesting question. Like how much of the public opinion influences what you're doing? You know, because
say like 20%.
Right.
Like I always have it on the back of my mind. It's always a factor to consider. And especially with mini games, because like it's for some reason really like evokes people to complain about them. Like people really want to be vocal about it.
Sure.
And it's just something I have to keep in mind because I like lockpick mini games.
Right.
But a lot of people don't like it.
Thinking about it, there are some people I've heard that get pretty vocal about. Exactly, kind of like actually the BioShock thing. I've heard people are super annoyed by that thing.
Do I put in a game because I like it, or do I not put in a game because the majority of players wouldn't like it? Would I compromise my vision?
That is the question, right? That's exactly what I'm getting at. Is like, right, how much do you compromise your vision? Sometimes I wonder like how much of it's me being like a total like sadist and like trying to be aggressive towards people, because like I was like, oh, I could just do a simple money system where you know, something says it costs that much, you press buy and it does the automatic transaction. But there's also this part of me that really wants to make it so like you have to grab each dollar or coin and add it up yourself and like drag and drop it onto the screen. And like, because that sounds it sounds fun to me. And like you put in the paper and coin sound effects for each one, like or ting, ting, ting. And to me, that's like, if a game did that and I had to do that every time I paid for something, especially if I had to account for exchange rates, if it was like a US dollar or a British pound or something, I'd be like, this is awesome. This is fucking cool. But I've expressed this to some people and they're like, that sounds like it would be so tedious and annoying and boring. And I'm just like, shit.
I also like it. Like, I like that mechanic.
I'm glad.
Because it's like, it's immersive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It puts you in the world and just in these weird ways. Have you played Papers, Please?
I did. I was just thinking about it. Yeah, I did.
Right. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. What was the impression that you got from that game? What's your overall experience with it?
It's really depressing. I love the systems. I love the art style.
Yeah.
The way the characters are portrayed, and I love the consequences.
The consequences, of course.
Yeah. It really stood out to me how you can fuck everything up by just allowing one person to go because you're feeling sorry for them.
Right.
And the rest of the game is fucked for you.
Or vice versa. You're feeling shitty and you need to protect your family and they get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude, Lucas Pope, have you played his other game? Oberdin?
I haven't. Not yet, but I will.
That's another one where I know it alienates the shit out of people because they're like, oh, I'm filling in names, I'm looking at this art that hurts my eyes and shit like that. And to me though, it's beautiful, and it's like one of the strangest but almost most like one of the most intriguing games I've ever played. Very engaging. Do you have any game developers that are like I don't want to just say idolize, but that, you know, you're stoked to see what their next game is, that you watch interviews endlessly of them and stuff like that?
Definitely, yeah.
Who's that for you?
One person, like one indie dev that really stood out to me and like helped me go into game development was Tom Francis. I don't know if you know him.
Tom Francis?
Yeah, from Gunpoint, Hit Signature. Most recently, he's doing Tactical Breach Wizards. I think it's one of his most popular games right now. It's still in development, but yeah. His story, he was just working a 9 to 5 at PC Gamer, and he really wanted to make games, and he did. Like his first game was Gunpoint, I think, and he was just prototyping. He was putting it out on the internet. People reached out to him, like other developers, I think, like an artist and a musician, and they all just joined up and made the game together. Like they split the revenue, and that really influenced my decision to do game dev. Another developer was Gwen Frey. Gwen Frey is an ex-AAA developer, and she worked at the Molasses Floods, a studio that she helped create, I think. And she made a game called Kine that came out on the Epic Game Store. She made Kine, and most recently she's making Lab Rats. Like puzzle games. She also quit her job at a studio she was making. I think she was an artist, I think, on BioShock Infinite. She doesn't know how to code, which that really like connected to me, of course.
Yeah, totally.
And she started learning Unreal Engine and blueprints, like visual codes. And I was like, dude, you can make games without knowing how to code? Like this exists? And that really stood out to me as well. Both of them were like the ones to kickstart my game dev career. I think Tom Francis was one of them, actually, like with Gunpoint. He was only posting prototype videos on YouTube, but the first trailer he put out of a completed game, like it really kicked off like hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible, especially because you already got something that people respond to so quickly. You made some great GIFs, you know, for the for that itch page. Being able to go on there and then see the window thing, that's that hook, right? Like the hook is you could break windows and people get sucked out of it. Like that's something. I mean, have you ever seen that in a game where people get sucked out of a window when you break it?
Probably.
I don't think I have.
Really, I don't.
Have you played Quadrilateral Cowboy?
Nope.
Okay, in Quadrilateral Cowboy, you could break glass and like yeah, the air gets sucked out, but you don't go flying out, and it doesn't like have physics to suck a bunch of stuff out.
Tom Francis actually, I keep bringing him up, but he has a trilogy on Steam called the Defenestration Trilogy. Okay. Because his thing is throwing people out the window.
Oh, that's okay. Because that's the thing that stood out to me too when I saw his games right now too. Because I do remember, what's that one game where it's like, because the player jumps through windows too in one of his games, right?
Gunpoint.
Right. Yeah, because that's a hysterical game. Like it's very funny to see that guy just like whoosh.
And when I made that GIF, like one of those GIFs, I tweeted at him like, "Here, I'm prototyping the defenestration mechanic. I hope Tom Francis is proud of me." Or he just liked the tweet.
What else could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. You got something really special on your hands, man.
That's so good to hear. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, it was a blast playing yesterday. I think it was. Time's kind of slipping by, but right on.
I think it's like the first appearance of me on the internet. So yeah, there's that.
Here he is, everybody.
Yep,
Luis. Exactly. I'm sorry. What's your Bento? Is your last name?
Yeah.
Luis Bento. This is get used to it. Get used to this face, everybody.
Let's hope so.
All right, man. Well, thanks for sitting down and having a chat. And go play his game, Corpus Edax. It's on itch. And the link will be in the description.